More RWBY! Yay! We begin with Atlas's forces on the outside of the wall. Why are they not behind the wall? Or at least why isn't a significant portion of the army behind the wall? It's the Battle of Winterfell all over again. On the other side, why did Kevin beach himself? Is he not capable of flying a few feet above the ground, which would allow him to spread Grimm faster and be within the city in like a minute? It's simple shit like this that can really add up. They decide to make a special bomb to blow it up from the inside, which apparently they were working on.
Science team is putting together a bomb. When it's ready, we'll drop it off as close to the target as possible.
The Moronics, of course, prioritizing one person over an entire population, which I get, Oscar is their friend and they're kind of shitty people. Then Salem begins conducting the battle like the Major from Hellsing Ultimate, except here it looks fucking stupid, as Salem is nowhere near the level of the Major. Plus the music they choose is really weak. Emerald then walks up to the door to the room Oscar is being held in. Why she did this, I don't know, but then she decides to listen in, which, again, I have no idea why she cares, but it's needed for the plot later, and I'm sure someone will come up with an overly autistic headcanon explanation. Hazel then makes even less sense.
She's gonna create a new world order. No kingdoms. And no Huntsman Academies.
So, you're helping the master of the creatures that killed your sister create an authoritarian society ruled by the master of the Grimm, or an anarchist society where more people will die to the Grimm. Apparently, Hazel never asked for the specifics of how this world would operate, but apparently Salem just wants to die and do this requires the gods. But you may be asking something. Doesn't that completely contradict what Jin said in Volume 6?
How do I destroy Salem?
You can't.
Especially since she knows about the deal with Oz and the gods? Why, yes it does. And doesn't this go against Oz's statement that he didn't have a plan to kill Salem, when if he succeeds he could try and convince the gods to give Salem release? Indeed it does. Doesn't it also go against the official compendium in RWBY Volume 7 commentary, stating that Salem wants to gather all the maiden powers for herself and rule the world? Yes it does. So either this is an admittedly clever lie, or this is a giant fucking retcon. Spoilers, it's the latter. Hazel apparently killed Salem multiple times, but because she came back, he realized there is no point in fighting her, which makes sense. However, given Hazel's motivations, it makes no sense to join her, but that's beating a dead horse. You know a good way to stop Salem? Put her in one of the maiden vaults that only Oz can open. Or if you can't do that, just put her in one of the existing vaults and be done with it. If she could open them herself, she wouldn't need to rely on Cinder, which we know has been a very bad idea. I want you to prepare yourselves for what happens next. Despite Grimm infiltrating Atlas, the Moronics are sitting around drinking tea, wondering what they can do. Are you shitting me? Really? There are several things you can do, like try and fend off the Grimm that enter Atlas, or help guard the people in the subway tunnels, help the front lines, especially since RWBY has an instant Grimm nuke. And for anyone saying they don't want to get arrested, RWBY didn't care in Volume 6 if she got arrested when fighting Discount Titanosaurus, despite having the perfect opportunity to leave, but now they're worried about getting arrested? I doubt James would give a shit given the situation. They aren't even trying to think up a plan. Just sitting around and drinking tea.
How did it all get like this?
Good question, RWBY. I wonder. Seems pretty fucking mysterious. You fucking idiot. Anyways, this person... Shit, what was her name? Brownie Points! That was it. Brownie Points comes in and tells them Mantle needs help, which is true. However, I am of the not-so-humble opinion that Mantle should burn because it is too stupid to live. Perhaps Blake or RWBY or both could go with Brownie Points while Weiss stays in Atlas with Nora. But because everyone is an idiot in this show, it turns into Brownie Points condemning innocent people because her family are dicks and hurt her feelings. I'm sure that justifies the deaths of the brave soldiers fighting to protect their home and the innocent civilians who will likely die. Way to make your shoehorn trans character unlikable. Then Brownie Points implies Whitley is a transphobe, which, if anything, he'd be a misanthrope given how shit his family is.
Which side are you on, anyway?
There are no sides.
Which is why you picked a side in the first episode, RWBY, you smooth-brained weasel. Oscar gives Hazel the password to activate the McMuffin for him to see Salem's past. And how convenient was it that Emerald just so happened to come across this room at this exact moment to eavesdrop. She tells Mercury, who doesn't really give a shit, and Tyrion comes in and confirms that Salem does want to kill everything so she can die. Question: why would Salem tell Tyrion about her true motives? I get he's really devoted to her, but she didn't think that maybe his gibbering insanity might compromise everything. But what's the most important thing is that this does indeed look like to be her true motivation. So I guess Jin was wrong, or the rules of the lamp have been altered. Because last I checked, there was nothing about the questions being specific. Or else RWBY's question could have been answered by showing Oz's internet history, or that he was secretly going in Glenda's back door. But I'm sure this totally makes sense if you're a fucking moron. Mercury and Tyrion leave the season knowing how fucking nonsensical everything is now. Cut back to the other half of the Moronics, and Jean asks Winter to let them try and save Oscar. Elm says trading 3 lives for 1 is fucking stupid, which certainly is true in most cases, but you could make an argument that Oscar is merged with Oz, who is a huge asset. Unfortunately, that's not the argument they make because logic and sense don't exist in RWBY. Ren then conveniently unlocks an upgrade to his semblance that allows him to see the emotions, and the reason why they got squashed by the Moronics is because they were conflicted. This damage control is hilarious to me. Ren just vomits out how the Job Squad feels because this show has too many characters and no one talented enough to write for them. I'm also getting pretty sick and tired of how RWBY doesn't understand the military and portrays it in such a negative light with no nuance. Yes, soldiers are trained to be emotionally tough, but the way the Job Squad is written feels like they think soldiers are trained to not have friends at all, rather than not letting personal feelings rule your decision making. And the retarded idea that this prevents them to not work together as a team is nonsense. That's one of the things that you have drilled into your head, to work as a well-oiled machine. And from an in-universe standpoint, it's even stupider because the reason why the Job Squad lost was because they didn't have the power of friendship. So years of training mean fuck all. Winter tells them they can go, but they're still blowing up Kevin regardless. I hope they all die. Or at least Yang. Give me something, show. Also, apparently Whitley called Klein to help Nora and not Weiss. I like how Weiss is a retard on par with everyone else now. But then, and you're gonna want to brace yourselves, Penny crash lands right in front of the house. Yes, this is real. Somebody wrote this. So let's go over why this makes no fucking sense. First off, Penny is somehow still alive, despite falling from high atmosphere and didn't burn up, even though re-entry heat can reach over 5,200 degrees. Second, how did she end up here? Amity was over a dust mine, which were established to be far from Mantle and Atlas. How far is never stated, but it's very clearly in a remote area similar to what we saw in this season. If you look at her descent, she's falling straight down, given her angle is the same as Amity's. There is no fucking way Penny would end up in Atlas, even if I give Penny surviving. Also, her clothes, skin, and hair should be fucking gone, given that her glove burned up when she fought Cinder, and that her skin peeled off when she stopped a truck in Volume 2. But these are just nitpicks. RWBY's writing is perfectly fine and not Batwoman levels of incompetence. I am so glad I returned to this holocaust of my sanity.